Yes.
One of the things I know that sometimes people struggle with. So I haven't had a drink in 32 years. That was
Mhm.
my alcohol was my thing, and
Uh-huh.
I've been sober for 30 years. And but I remember when that happened. One of the things that I struggled with was loneliness
Hmm.
because my friends,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
My friends drank and they got high. When I say get high, they smoke marijuana
Hmm.
and they drank. And I smoked weed too, but the my big thing was alcohol.
Yes.
And so when I decided to get sober, felt very no one was around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I
Yep.
didn't have the friends. I didn't have at that time. Like I
Yes.
didn't wasn't able
Yeah.
to join. So I know a lot of people struggle with that.
Hmm.
And I know that you had your wife, but was there ever a sense of that though, like loneliness? And if not, though, what could you say to someone around that? Welcome to the Change Mind. My name is Tamu King, and I'm your host. I'm excited about today's show. Today we're going to be talking about addictions, particularly substance use addictions. I do have a special guest. His name is Gregory Jones. He's going to come on and tell his story. But I wanted to do a pre-recording to talk about substance use addictions and to talk a little bit about how this became a part of my world. I noticed as I began to go through my journey, there are different areas that I have become very proficient in. And one of those areas is addictions. And I never could have imagined that I would be teaching people regularly, I would say just about every month, around around the topic of addictions. How did I find myself here? How did I become so consumed around the topic of addictions? Well, 10 years old, I had my first drink and continued to drink from there. 12 years old, first time I was introduced to marijuana, began smoking very heavily there. I found myself consumed around food and sugar, not realizing that as I got older, it was considered an eating disorder. And I was diagnosed with bulimia when I was in my teens and spent 90 days in a treatment center seeking to heal that journey. But that was just the beginning of the journey after spending 90 days in a treatment center. So I never could imagine that that would be my life. And then, family members being addicted to alcohol and other drugs. And, I used to wonder, alcohol became my thing, but I used to wonder, how come I never tried, because I never tried other drugs. But alcohol was enough because I don't know if y'all know, but alcohol is the number one drug killing people all across the world every day, but yet it's legal. Anyway, I digress. I won't go into a tangent about that. But I always wondered, I never tried anything else. And the, the reminder comes back to me about an incident that happened when I was like 12, 13 years old. I was in junior high school. And don't be mad, mom, because my mom's going to watch this. It's my biggest supporter. We grown now. But sometimes she still get mad when we talk about things when we were children. Sorry. But, this particular day, I was coming home from school. My mom was a hustler. She owned her own home. Many times she worked two jobs. She went to school, got her education, multiple degrees. So she was a hustler. And this particular time, she was working a double. We knew that she wouldn't get home till about 12. And I had an aunt across the street that would look over us, another aunt across the street that would look over us. But this was during daylight school time, so they weren't home either. And apparently, my brother and some of his friends didn't go to school either. So I'm coming home. I come into the house and we had 3 floors. My brother stayed in the attic. So the main floor steps, this guy was coming down as I'm coming in, and it was this horrible, horrible smell. And I remember saying to him, like, yo, what is this smell? It was horrible. And he said, oh, Mook, we just smoking woods. I said, smoking what? He said, smoking woods. Now I knew what marijuana smelled like because I smoked it. I said, I don't know what woo is, dude. What is that? And he said, it's just marijuana and we put cocaine in it. That was enough for me. I said, oh, okay. Checked out. You ain't got to worry about me trying that. You ain't got to worry about me trying nothing else other than drinking my alcohol and smoking this marijuana. My nose, I feel like my nose has always saved me. Even today, though, my mom tells me that I'm rude sometimes because if something does not smell right, I will not eat it. It can even be food that I'm familiar with, possibly food that I love. But if it stinks, if for whatever reason someone did something funny to it and don't smell right, I will not touch it. My grandson kind of got that habit. I don't feel like I taught him that. Maybe I kind of sort of did. I don't know. It wasn't purposely, but he kind of smells his food too. Anyway, so I feel like my nose has saved me from trying anything else. And I've been around other drugs throughout my childhood. I've been around drug dealers within my family and people that weren't my family. I watched when they started to sell, I'm going like this, marijuana, like joints, right? That's what you used to call them. They used to sell those. And I was born and raised in Camden, New Jersey. I love my city. It was fun. I was drunk half the time. I was high half the time. It was fun. We had a great old time. Was there crime? Yes, it was. But, I kind of would say it was little stuff. And I say that to say when they were selling joints, you knew there was crime stuff happening, but, nothing intense. And then I remember when cocaine came into the spot and they would, do this to the bags. And, even then, it wasn't as intense. But then I would see them bag of crack cocaine. And when crack cocaine hit the scene, it was insane. It's like the whole world shifted, right? That's when you start to see intense robberies and killings and shootings. And it just got crazy. And I remember my mom saying, I was 17, she said, we done. And that's when she left Camden. So I've been consumed. I've seen a lot of things a young girl shouldn't have seen a lot of things, right? But even in seeing it, I never wanted to try it. Never wanted to try cocaine, never wanted to try crack cocaine, heroin, none of it. And I believe my nose saved me. I really do, because it turned me off. But alcohol became my thing. And that thing tried to kill me. I mean, I had access to it. I had big access to alcohol. People would always ask me, well, how'd you get? I had access, whether it was in the home, because my mom and them used to have parties. Woman down the street, she couldn't wait for someone to drink with her. So I'm like, okay, yep, I'm here. And it was all free. Went off to college, it just got even worse, right? So that's how I lived and got consumed when we talk about substance use addictions. Fast forward, um, my husband, he was addicted. We was in our 20s, connected, didn't realize he was addicted to crack cocaine. And he would go on these binges and things of that nature. He ended up getting clean years later, getting cancer, and then he passed away. It's been 12 years, right? People that I knew. So after some time, I really wanted to understand addictions because I had got a job where I was taught how to be a counselor and things of that nature and working with clients with DV and sexual assault. And after some time, I realized that a lot of my clients had substance use addictions, right? Had mental health issues. So when I finally continued my education, I had went into a PhD program because I said, you know what? I'm gonna do addiction psychology because I really wanted to understand the brain and the science behind this, why folks get addicted and what it does to the body. So I went into a PhD program. I never completed my dissertation because grief, losing my husband, and it was just hard for me to really focus in that area. And I tried several times and it was just really hard for me to focus. But I still was able to stay within this field around addictions. I currently teach at There's a state entity that hires me to teach their staff all across the state of New Jersey around substance use addiction. So I feel like every month I'm teaching around this topic and being consumed. So I never would imagine that I would be consumed in teaching around this topic. Um, our world is consumed. Drugs, it just seems like I don't want to say it seems like it's never going to stop, but it's just like one drug after another. We know that people still snort cocaine. Crack cocaine is still a big deal. Meth is still a big deal. Fentanyl is a big deal. Heroin is still a big deal. We have Trink. We have ketamine, but Trink is a big deal. And Trink, people shooting this stuff up on one side, and you look on the other side of their skin, and it's eating through the inside out, eating through their skin. All these big gashes in their skin, sores in their legs, sores in their arms, all over their body. And for some reason in our society, we want to think that that's what people want. So that brings me to my next, as I fast forward in my conversation, I have been 32 years sober. No alcohol, no marijuana, sober. And I believe going through all that experience has given me a heart and empathy for people to help them understand substance use addictions so that we can be a little more empathetic and supportive of people. So that brings me to the thought of, in our world, when we think about addictions, a lot of us, we're stuck on this moral issue. We see addictions as a moral issue, meaning we feel like, well, you picked up, you should be able to put it down. You should be able to stop. You should have willpower. Get it together. That's what we say to people in society. But we know that addictions is a disease of the brain. There's a disease model. And a lot of people are getting it, but still some people are struggling with it. I want to mention two things when we talk about moral model or moral issue compared to disease issue. When crack cocaine hit the scene, I just gave you a little quick synopsis of what it looked like in Camden. When crack cocaine hit the scene, like I said, it got insane, right? And when people looked at these people who were addicted to crack, what kind of things were they saying about these people? That they're horrible, they're despicable, they're nasty, they're junkies. Like all these negative words was used as, as if people said, yeah, I want to ruin my life. Yeah, I want to lose my home. Yes, I want to lose my kids. I want to sell my kids. I want to X, Y, and Z. I want to sell my body. Like someone actually woke up and said, yep, this is what I want to do. Instead of realizing that there's something else happening. But here's the thing, which was so hurtful. We know that crack cocaine, there were people all over the world taking it. But when we look at where it was placed in a lot of neighborhoods with Black and brown folks, and they were seen so negatively. But then when heroin hit the scene, heroin's been around just as long, but we know that it came a time where it just spread all over in everybody's neighborhood. There was nobody siloed. It hit everybody's neighborhood. Now we start to really look at this thing and we realize that there's a disease model happening. That this thing is a chronic disease, that it literally latches onto the brain and it hinders folks from being able to think properly. So when we think about the definition of the disease model, it is a chronic brain disease. Chronic, characterized by compulsive substance use despite the negative consequences, despite this person selling their child or having to sell their body. Think about how crazy that sounds. Sometimes when we think people, well, you picked up, you should just be able to automatically stop. You must want to be this way. You must want to live this way. Really? You think folks really want to sell their babies or sell their bodies to get high? Like, how insane does that sound? That should tell us that this drug is insane, that this drug is impairing our brain to be able to make good decisions. And it does. It's called the prefrontal cortex. Here, right here in the front of our brain, is the prefrontal cortex. It is the last part to develop. So we know in women and in men, they say about 25 women, 26, 27, something like that. And men is the last part of the brain to develop. What does the prefrontal cortex do? It allows us to decision making, make wise decisions. It helps us with impulse control. It helps us with cognitive ability. It helps us in all of those different areas to make rational decisions, rational choices. It helps us to do all of those things. So imagine putting drugs in the brain. You know what happens to the prefrontal cortex when we put drugs on the brain or when we put trauma to it? It literally shuts down. Look it up. You can read it. It literally shuts the brain down. So I'm going to go even further for you. Now, I told you about the brain being developed, right? How long it takes. So now imagine a 12-year-old or 10. I was 10, 10, 11, 12, putting drugs on a brain that's not fully developed. What do you think is going to happen? So as this brain is developing, trauma, drugs, what do you think it's doing to the brain? It's still developing, but now it is, instead of forming in a healthy way, it is deforming the brain. Do you know that substance use addiction is considered an adolescent disease? That's what it's considered, an adolescent disease. Why? Because most people start using in adolescent. Did you know that? Well, they do. Now, I always like to share, could someone who's 50, 60, 70 years old start using drugs for the first time? They could, and they do. But here's how it usually takes place. For the most part, a 60-year-old person who never ever used drugs, they're not going to wake up one day and say, I think I want to go get some crack and smoke it. Usually doesn't happen that way. Hey, I promise you, right? Unless there is something mental, something that's happening. Someone who is healthy does not wake up in their 60s one day that never ever used drugs and say, I think I'm going to go smoke some crack. I think I'm going to go shoot up some heroin and see what happens. I know I'm being silly, but I'm being sarcastic because it doesn't happen that way. Usually someone who's never used drugs, 50, 60, 70, even 80 years old, when they get addicted, it usually has something to do with our prescription drug world. A written prescription that came from a doctor, a surgery, back pain, right? Something that happened in their body. And we know this has happened to many folks much younger than that, but I was just trying to get you to correlate and understand from adolescent disease to someone who's much older and how they begin to get addicted. So that prescription drug gets written, and that's how our prescription drug intensified, right? The opioid addiction just intensified because doctors were just writing prescription. You know, fentanyl is a pain medication that prescriptions were written for. And people were taking these drugs, and then all of a sudden they were cut off by their doctors. The CDC wrote some new guidelines, and doctors just cut people off. They said, oh, we were told we can't give you no more of this medication. And they cut them off. How many of you know regular medications for blood pressure, for other things? When your doctor cuts you off, for those type of medications, they usually wean you off. So any medication, they tell folks you need to be weaned off. They were cutting people off. So I'm addicted now because this thing has latched onto my brain. What do you want me to do? I'm going to go to the street. Also, a lot of times these medications are so expensive, folks are already addicted. You know, it's cheaper on the street. So now we have a much older generation addicted to drugs, prescription drugs, street drugs, that had never taken a drug a day in their life. But most of the time, people who are addicted to drugs in their later years started in their youth. They started in adolescence, which is why substance use is considered an adolescent disease, right? And I feel like sometimes if we talk about things from a standpoint of children, we might can begin to have some empathy for folks. Because we tend to have a little more empathy for children than we do adults. We have a lot more empathy for children than we do adults. So if you can think about that young 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old that started using because of trauma, peer pressure, abuse of some kind, and now they're 30, 40, 50. Remember, they were once a kid who was addicted. And when they turned 21, as the world said 21, we're an adult, some places say 18. When they turn 21, there's not a button that registers in the brain and says, "Oh, I'm an adult now. Let me get it together." It doesn't work that way. Because my brain is already formed by these drugs and I'm already addicted. Right? So maybe we'll have some more empathy for folks. Language is a big deal. Sometimes people ask, well, how can we begin to shift? Let's shift our language. That's a good thing we can shift. What do I mean? First person language. A lot of the terms we use for people are junkie, crackhead, drunk, pathetic, miserable. Like we use all these harsh terms for people. And people know what they're being called. Addicts, they know what they're being called. They know the stigma that's out there. So a lot of times people won't even come forth. They won't even say nothing. Do you understand that there's 48.5 million people addicted, 12 and older? 12 and older, 48.5 million people addicted to some type of substance use in our world. And statistically tells us like 11%, 12 and older of that are addicted to alcohol. Alcohol is a beast, y'all. It is. It's killing folks more than any other drug out here in this world. But yet, we got liquor stores everywhere. It's a beast. It is a beast. So, back to first person language. If we can shift what we name people, what we call people, and instead of calling them a junkie, how about we say that's Tanya, who's addicted to crack cocaine? That's Lewis, who's addicted to alcohol. That's Jackie, even one further, who is dealing with schizophrenia, instead of calling her a schizophrenic. Or let's go even further. Instead of saying to someone they're diabetic, how about saying that's Sam, who is dealing with diabetes? Get it? We see the person first and then the disorder and the disease second, third, fourth, wherever you want to put it. But I get to see the person. I get to see Sam. I get to see Tom. I get to see Joey. I get to see Lisa first. This human being, this individual that, for the most part, if they were not addicted to drugs, they wouldn't do the things that they do. One of the questions people in my class tend to ask me, or they tend to say, how could this mother sell her baby? Yeah, how could she? But what I say, if Teresa was not on crack cocaine, would Teresa sell her baby? Probably not. There was no other mental health issues thing going on. Would Teresa sell her baby? I'm almost sure she would not sell her baby. Can't say 100% because, like I said, it could be some other factors. But if those other factors most of the time were not in place, she would not sell her baby. But Teresa on crack cocaine, that should tell you how insane the drug is and what the drug does to the mind. Like, once again, I told you, it literally shuts down the prefrontal cortex. That is the place where we want people to make decisions. We want them to have impulse control. We want them to have strong cognitive ability. The drug shuts down prefrontal cortex. It's as if the prefrontal cortex goes against the person and said, "Forget you, I'm not working today." So if the place where we're supposed to think with make good decisions and be wise is not working, so yes, a person would sell their baby. Yes, a person would sell their body. Yes, a person would kill for the drug. It's insane what drugs do. So it's important for you to understand that and hopefully understand the first person language. And that is important in how we see people. Um, uh, Another piece I want to mention too, there's a spectrum, and I'm gonna try to explain it without showing it to you. Um, is a spectrum of addiction to help people understand how this works. Because once again, when we think about addiction as a moral disease, I think we get stuck and we say to folks, why don't they just get it together? You started, you stop. Right? We just point the finger. And when we look at this spectrum, um, looking in three columns. So in the first one, it's substance. It's all substance use. I'm sorry, experimental. I couldn't think of the word. I had a brain fart for a minute. Experimental. So across in this box, this is baseline. So this is baseline here, right? Going straight across. So this is normal, where everyone lies, depending, normal could look different for everyone. This is normal. In experimental use, this is normal. This is what happens when you're using drugs as an experiment, first time or so. So all the arrows are going way up, meaning there's such this uh, high that a person gets. Just like the first time if you haven't had sugar in a long time. Man, let me tell you, let me get a brownie that I ain't had in a long time, some sugar. Ooh, I want to eat that whole pan because that brownie tastes so good and that sugar done got into my body and hit my brain and I'm excited and I'm like, ooh, and if I can have ice cream and I can't have regular ice cream because I eat plant based, so I gotta find some other kind of ice. But child, let me tell you, put some sugar in it and we good. And I'm excited. And it's like a high, but after I come off that high, I want to go to sleep because that's what it does. It takes you down. So that's what drugs do. That experimental use. It's like that feeling that people want to get. Go to that second column. You ever hear people talking about chasing the dragon? What it means is that I'm trying to get to that first high that I can never get to again. But what happens is baseline. So now my tolerance level is going up. So now the arrows are going down. I might still have some arrows going up. I can still get high, right? But they're going down. But now I need more though to get high. So if I had that brownie, I had 1, 2 pieces and that sensation felt good. Now I got to eat the whole pan because I'm trying to get back to that same high. But I'll never get it again. But I got to eat more because I might can get some of that high. That's why I got to keep eating more, trying to get high. But yet then it's going down. I got some arrows going down because my tolerance level is getting stronger. And then we come to addiction. This is baseline. Best way I like to explain it, you ever seen someone that was dope sick? People also don't understand people that are dope sick because for them, they're like, oh my God, don't this person see what they're doing to their life? No, they don't. They're like, don't they see that they're sick? Because when a person is dope sick, like they're throwing up, their body hurt, their bones ache. I'm sorry to tell you, they don't see it because they're sick. And that person is crying out for more drugs. You know why they're crying out for more drugs? Not that they're trying to get high. They're trying to get back to baseline because in addiction, now there's no longer this level of getting any high. There's no more of that. All their arrows are going down. And all they're trying to do, if I can get a hit, I can get back to baseline. You ever seen someone dope sick and as soon as they use, they pop up? They're not high, but they were able to get up, right? Because their body is craving the drug. Their brain, their body is craving the drug just so it can function. That is an illness. It's not a moral issue. It's an illness that latches on to the brain and it's killing people every day. People don't want to live this way. I promise you they don't. I absolutely promise you they don't. And people are fighting for their lives. They absolutely are. Right? Here's my ask. My ask is that we be willing to have an open heart. I just ask that, if nothing else, maybe change your language. Change your language in words that we say about people. Let's remove terms like junkie, crackhead from our language. And let's start seeing people. That's my ask. Let's start seeing people. Because there's somebody's brother, sister, mother, father, aunt, uncle, grandfather. There's somebody. I would want someone to see me. I'm sure you would want someone to see you. So that's my ask. So we're going to continue this conversation where we're going to hear from Gregory Jones as he's going to talk about his journey around being addicted to crack cocaine. And he's going to be joined by his beautiful wife, Deneen Jones, who has been his support ever since the beginning. And she's going to talk about her journey as well in supporting him. So I thank you, and I hope you continue to stay connected. I'll see you in a few minutes as we talk to Gregory Jones. All right. So, as I promised everyone, we have a special guest here today, Mr. and Mrs. Gregory Jones. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on to my podcast today to change mine.
Yes.
How are y'all doing today?
We're
Pretty good.
doing well. Doing well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, as I explained to you, I am doing a segment around addictions. Addictions of all kinds, from substance use, alcohol to eating. And I really feel like it's important to have this conversation because we really lack empathy in our society. Around the topic, we look at it as a moral disease and we don't see it as a disease. We see it as a moral issue, I guess is what I meant to say. So I really wanted to just have a conversation prior, and then I wanted to have someone come on and talk about it with me, someone that has been through it. And I literally honestly thought about you. And I said,
Amen.
I'm gonna reach out and see what he says, either
Amen.
yea or nay.
I'm always able
Hey,
to share my
you'll
story.
let you ask, right? So I'm so grateful that you're here today. If you would like to formally introduce yourself, truly greatly appreciate that.
Good.
Me? All right. So I'm Gregory Jones. This is my wife, Deneen Jones. We've been married for 32 years. We've been together for 39 years. We have 6 children between us. We have 22 grandchildren, and we have 2 great grandchildren. Family is very important to us. We're always doing family gatherings, family vacations. So family is a big part of our lives. I guess probably because of me, the way I feel about it, because it was so many years I was away from the family. Even though I was here, I was just so far away from the family. So would you agree?
Yeah.
You agree on that?
Yeah.
So family is very important to us at this time.
Wonderful, wonderful. So the title of this segment that I'm doing for season 1 is called "What's Your Story?" So I'm going to ask you, Greg, what's your story?
Okay, well, I am no longer an addict. I'm delivered. I'm a new creation in Christ. I was addicted to crack cocaine for 19 years. I started out just selling, selling a little bit of marijuana, selling a bit of little powder cocaine, and just sitting around and like, well, we got some crack here. We selling a little bit. Let's try it. Tried it, and that was it. I was a crack addict. Instantly.
How old were you?
I was like 23. I think I was like around 23. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good number.
That's a good number.
Yeah. I know you know all these. She already know all the numbers. I probably was like 23. I mean, life was good for me. Before this, life was good. I was working. Um, I was on top of the world. I guess, even at that young age. And like I said, I took that one hit, and instantly, I was a crack addict.
That's
Um,
interesting, though. I don't mean to interrupt, but a lot of people who started using drugs, they would, say things, like, well, life was rough, or sometimes they'll say, well, I was with my friends and it was just something to do. But a lot of times, they explain they've been through trauma or something happened and they
mhm.
were lonely. Like there's usually some kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
then when I ask people, why did you start? Right. And there's usually something around that. But you say life was good.
Life was good. I mean, I was raised well. I really never really wanted for anything. My parents, my grandparents made sure of that. So I didn't have a bad upbringing.
Mhm.
It wasn't like really never even experienced a struggle. Because there's so many people. It was a village. Raising us. So yeah, life was good for me. Life was good for me. It was nothing tragic happened in my life. You know what I mean? That made me get high or none of that. Life was just good. And once like I said, and I just tried it. Thought I was bigger and better than that. That it wasn't gonna happen to me. Because I'm good. And it was just that first time. It was just that was it. It was chaos. I mean, it was chaos. I had became evil. I really became evil. Um, no one was off limits. Whatever I needed to do to get high, I done to get high. Um, I threw a brick through my mother's house, through her window, and robbed her twice. So that just let you know that no one was off limits when it was time for me to get high.
Yeah.
So
You mentioned that in teaching around addictions and trying to get people to understand what it does to the brain, right? And trying to get people to understand that we have to learn how to detach the person from the drug because
hmm
people look at it many times and say, well, he's this and she's that, like such a horrible person. And I'm like, do you recognize if that drug was not in their life for the most part,
Hmm.
that person is a great person,
yeah, yeah.
right?
What kind of stuff is that to rob your mom?
Correct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who? I mean, this woman done everything for me when I was growing up.
Hmm.
She provided. Like I said, we never wanted. You know what I mean? And for that crack to do that to me, and it was more than once. I done it twice. I done it twice. I have, I mean, sold stuff out the house. Rob people, stealing. It was nothing that stopped. Nothing got in my way to stop me from getting high. I just was not going to allow it. I
Yeah.
just was not going to allow it. What I mean, to stop me from getting high. I will always say I had a slogan. This is how crazy this thing is. I'm gonna get high to the day I die. And that was and that's what I was living for. I was living to get high.
Your life went from, you said you was a low level drug dealer. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah, yeah. If you want to call it that,
That's what you said.
if you want to call it that, it wasn't even really that, really. And I had a job. I was really working. I had a job, so what I mean.
Life be good, right? So life goes from looking pretty good, you have a job, selling it a little bit here and there, like
Yeah,
you was doing good.
yeah,
Were you two together at the time?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. You had were you married or your girlfriend at the time?
My girlfriend,
Girlfriend.
So you had
girl.
a girlfriend, like
Yeah,
you had it
yeah,
going take
yeah.
right? Life was looking pretty good.
Life was good. Life
And
was
one
good.
day you decided
One day.
Were you
One day.
did you and some other people use together, tried it together, or
It was,
was it just
it was,
you?
it was me and another person.
So
Me
you and
and
the person decided
you know, saying, yeah, yeah. Come on, man. Why not?
all about.
You know how we grew up, man. We good, man. You know, yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So one
yeah,
here, next minute you're here.
just like that, instantly, instantly, instantly. And that word instantly is going to be important later on.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize it um at that time,
Mhm.
but as we talk more, that instantly is so important. That word instantly is so important. The first day I met Deneen, the first day I met her, she told me we was gonna get married. The first day, you know, I'm like,
No,
and,
first I told you.
like,
First I told him that I was a Christian. I said I believe in the Lord, and I go to church. I'm a good girl. He said, "Oh, I don't believe in I don't believe in no Lord. I don't believe in church. All that kind of stuff." This is what he's saying to me.
raised in church.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to be tough, you know what I mean? I'm trying to, be the man. We ain't gonna do it.
Mhm.
We ain't doing all that church stuff, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And then she told me we were gonna get
Yeah.
married the first day. Yeah, we're life is crazy, and one thing I never really really knew until after I got delivered, and Deneen shared this with me. She was like, you know what? We never got our electric cut off. The kids never missed a Christmas. You know what I mean? And not because of me. You know what I mean? It had nothing to do with me. And I never really, because first place, only thing I was thinking about was getting high. You know what I mean? I ain't thinking about no Christmas. I ain't thinking about no lights being on. I'm not thinking about any of that. You know what I mean? But God had provided, you know what I mean, had watched over her because she was being faithful. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? She was being faithful and God had watched over her. We wound up moving, I think we counted maybe like in
Five
that little
times.
span, like about 5 or 6 times, me running. I'm always running from somebody. I'm always running from somebody. If it's not the police, it's a drug dealer or someone I done robbed. I did someone I done stole from. So we wound up moving out Centerville, and so it was like a church we was attending. I was going because it was Sunday. The name was going. I'm gonna make my wife happy. You know what I mean? I don't think we was married at that time.
Yes, we
We
were.
went, okay, I'm gonna make my wife happy. I'm gonna go to church on Sunday. Okay, I go in church on Sunday. Right from church, I'm gonna do my thing. Simple as that. So, but the minister will always come over after because she was from Woodstown, so it was like a little ride for her, to go. This church was in Camden, so after church, she would come over and have like dinner with us or have dinner with them. I would always skip out and go do my thing. And so the church wound up not really being established. There was nobody, come in. It was small. So she was like, well, I tell you what, let's have Bible study in your house. And I was like, oh no, oh no, we're not doing that. Okay, you're not bringing that God stuff up in here. We're
Mhm.
not having that. You know what I mean? And and then like, what then well, we're gonna have it. You know what I mean? So she would come over, right? Man, I would torture her. Not physically, but I would just mentally, I would torture this lady. You know what I mean? I would come in and like slamming doors. I would turn the electric off because we're in the projects, the electric box is outside, so I would turn the electric off.
Cut the phone
I
line.
cut the phone line one time. I was out of my mind. I was really out of my mind during this time, in my life. And she kept coming. She kept every Tuesday, she kept coming. No matter what I'd done, she kept coming. She told the name she had the patience of Job. She said, I don't know how you do. You got the patience of Job to be dealing with him. So, so, so we live out Centerville. So I go in the house. I'm with two of my friends. We walk in. I said, listen, I'm gonna go in the house and get some more money. We're gonna come out and continue to get high. I go in the house, maybe 30 seconds. I go in the house, I hear gunshots. The two people that I was with was laid out dead in the park. I left them to go get more money, to get high, and 30 seconds saved my life. The two people out had just got killed. What had happened was the drug dealer thought we had took his stash, and he was hunting, and we did, and I didn't even know it. Okay, so that 30 seconds for me to go do something evil, God has saved my life for that. Come to find out that the lady, Reverend Stewart, her and Deneen were having prayer visual on my behalf every Tuesday. Never knew that. Never, you know what I mean? Her and Deneen was having prayer visual on my behalf. You know, and that was part of something that was good. I didn't see it as being good. However, that didn't stop me from getting high. Okay, that seeing my friends laid out in the street in that courtyard did not stop me from getting high.
Because that's again.
I was going to ask you, did, was that enough to get you there? But you answered the question.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. I probably wind up getting high maybe for another 10 years after that.
Really?
You know, really. I wind up maybe another 10 years. Okay. So we're wind up. Here we go, moving again. So we moved again. We moved out East Camden. I'm still doing the same thing, and my brother Mike, you know Mike. He was more in the game. He was like kind of into the game. You know what I mean? So a lot of stuff I'd done, he was able to squash it. You know what I mean? The best he could. You know what I mean? And I wind up robbing another drug dealer, and at that time his name was pretty big in the streets, which I didn't know and I didn't care. You know what I mean? I didn't know who he was, and it got back to Mike that yo man, you know, well no, what he done? What he went and got Deneen and the kids out of the house because this guy was coming to kill anybody that was in the house. You know what I mean? So Mike came, he came, got Deneen, got the kids out of the house. And for a long time, I was like, I guess in hiding, you know, and say because it took him a while to squash this probably who this person was. You know what I mean? And like I said, but you know, that didn't stop me. You know, that didn't stop even a threat on my family, you know what I mean, still didn't stop me. That crack just had me going crazy. I remember yes.
You bring up a good point. That once again, as I try to teach people to understand, when we talk about addiction, it is a disease of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So two people you were just outside with, you go in, not even some seconds, and they murder.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
could have been murdered.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
have been right there.
Yeah.
Some people, like, if we had control over that thing, if that thing didn't have control over our brain, that could have been the thing to say, oh, I'm done.
Yeah. You would think, right?
There,
Yeah.
them coming to your house, your brother having to go to your house, get your wife. Were y'all married at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had 3 children.
Kids, get them out the house. Sense would say, oh, I'm done. Right?
Yeah.
Sure, you
Yeah.
had multiple other times to say, oh, I'm done. But it
Yes.
just proves when I tell people that thing hijacks the brain.
Through it.
Literally
Through it. Yes.
to where we think, common sense. There's none. Because the thing that makes all the what we say common sense, the prefrontal cortex, don't mean to try to get all, but that's what happens right here.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that helps us to make common sense, that makes wise decisions. Drugs hijacks that part of the
Yes.
brain and it literally shuts down.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when we want people to make those decisions, the thing that helps us to make those decisions literally gets shut down.
Yep. Yes.
You're explaining that.
I'm explaining to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was that guy. I was that guy because I got high so much where I couldn't even think straight. Only thing I knew was to get high. Even a little bit of time I might have been sober, I'm still thinking about getting high.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm still thinking about how am I going to get high? You know, but I always, even in the midst of me stealing, robbing, breaking in people's homes, even in the midst of all that, I still had some kind of job. You know what I mean? Always, I always had some kind of job. And it was like, when I get paid, if I made it home, most days I didn't, you know what I mean, 2 or 3 days. But if I did, I would give Deneen some money and she knew instantly she had to go shopping or instantly she had to go buy food, whatever, because in a matter of a couple of hours, I'm coming back for that money.
Yeah.
You know, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I remember. Wow, this thing is crazy, man. I remember. I remember walking Deneen out in the street like 2 o'clock in the morning. It was an ATM machine. It was the only ATM machine that had $5. You couldn't get $5 out of a machine, and that was the only one. You know what I mean? And that's all the money we had. And I remember, and she would, and I remember her walking me to get that $5. You know what I mean? Because I was just so sick. You know what I mean? And I'm sure, just protecting our children, not, what I mean, not having them seeing me like that. And I remember that. I'm not sure Deneen remember it. I'm sure she probably do. But you know what I mean? And that, these are the things that I see now. But then they ain't mean nothing to me then. You know what I mean? For $5. So I can get one more bag. I probably might have been up for like 2 nights, but we're gonna get one more. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get this one more. I'm gonna spend every dime that we got. Every dime that we got, I'm gonna spend it to get high. Yeah.
You being his girlfriend and then his wife and going through this and like, what was that like for you to have to go through some of it? Well, all of it, but I mean, like, what was that like for you? Even if you can remember the night of walking down the street at 2 o'clock in the morning to get the $5 out of the ATM.
I remember a lot of things. I remember some things that he don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to me, I seen past the addiction, and a lot of people didn't understand what I was saying. But I also had a very close relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
So I seen the potential in him. And also I also had a lot of conversations with the Lord.
Yeah.
And asking him, why should I stay with him? Why do you want me to stay with him? Like I would ask him all the time. And he told me one night, I think Greg had got locked up. And I said, I threw my hands up. I'm like, Lord, I can't do this no more. I done did everything you asked me to do. I stood by him, but I mentally I can't do it no more. I was about to give up.
Yeah.
And I hear a small whisper in my ear, like, no, you stand. You stay right where you are. And in the midst of that, like he said, my kids never went hungry. We never got our lights cut off. We never got evicted from a house. We left, but we never got evicted from a house. And a lot of times, like his family, my family, they would be telling me, you're stupid. Why are you staying with him? You're too good for him. You need to leave him. But they couldn't see what I seen.
Mm-hmm.
And the love that I had for him, it surpassed his craziness with the drugs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody could ever love a person like that besides the Lord.
Yeah.
The way he loves us and how we behave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was used I sacrificed myself for my husband. I sacrificed a lot of my youth for my husband, but here we are now,
Glory.
There was a plan. There's always a plan. Even though we're going through the storm, there's always a plan. The Lord still, even though I walked through that storm with him, the Lord was always walking beside me. So it was never just us two. It was always us three.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah. Because you know what, and Deneen asked to marry me in my addiction. You know what I mean?
It's like question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she can. You want to explain why?
Yeah, I did. I asked because when we were living together, one day I was just like, I can't do this no more. A feeling came over me like this is not right. We living in sin.
Okay.
Nothing, no blessings is coming out of this. We need to get married in order to save our relationship.
Yeah.
Now, people might say, why did you even want a relationship?
Yes.
But in order to save our relationship, we had to get married so that, you know, the Lord can work on him to save him.
Yeah.
You know, so in order for me to actually pray for him, he had to be my husband, not my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I had to be able to pray for my husband, you know, because a boyfriend, the Lord can't bless that. He'll bless the marriage.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, we had to go ahead and get married.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was so bad and people hated it so much. My parents didn't even come to my wedding.
No.
None of my siblings came to my wedding because they couldn't stand him to that fact, like because of the things that he was doing. When we got married, I stood at the top of the step because I got married at my brother and sister-in-law's house. And I stood there and I heard everybody saying, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? But I was so stuck because none of my family was there but my sister-in-law. She came, my brother's wife. And my cousin, he walked me down the aisle, and his wife was my maid of honor. I had 3 family members there. And I was like saying to myself, my dad is not here. Like, how am I supposed to walk down this aisle and my dad is not here? But I had a father with me the whole time.
Amen.
You know, so
Amen.
I made it down them steps. It was a struggle. But
Praise the Lord. I'm
made
glad you did.
I made it down the steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about having a relationship with the Lord, as far as I'm concerned, and how I got through his addiction.
You see, and even at that time when she has to marry me, I was like, I'm walking around chest all pumped up. You know what I mean? She has to marry, not even thinking of the relationship that she was trying to get with God. You know, I thought I was the man. You know what I mean? So I didn't even get that point. Didn't even get that. You know what I mean? Why are we getting married? You know, of course, yeah, we get married, but you know, it was something that Deneen had pretty much explained that to me later on, and you know, in our marriage once I had got delivered. So still getting high. Still getting high. Still running from the cops, running from this person, from that person. So now we're at Park. We live in our Parkside, and so I go out. I was like, you know what? Deneen always told me about my friends. She for years she always told me they were not your friend. They are not your friends. She will always say that. I remember sitting down at doing Kwanzaa. You know what I mean? And a person came over, a so-called friend came over. And I remember getting up from that table, going down in the basement to get home. You know what I mean? Leaving my family, leaving my wife and my children. You know what I mean? To get up from that table to go get high. You know, I remember they was out and I had sold we had an entertainment center and I had sold it. And at the time, drug dealer couldn't take it. So he came back maybe a couple days later, maybe the next day to get it. And Deneen and the kids standing up at the top of the steps watching this man take furniture out of our house. You know what I mean? These are the stuff that addiction did to me. You know, did to me. It was just whatever it took to get high, I was with it. So then at the time, even like my mother, she had became an enabler, not even knowing, you know, because I was just so crazy. I've done anything for money. I was like, hey, don't nobody want to give me no money? I ain't get no money. I'm calling my mom. You know what I mean? And she wanted to make sure, you know, because she just knew how sick I was. You know what I mean? And so she was going to give me whatever I asked her for. You know, I can call it 3-4 days in a row. She wanted to make sure that I had what you know what I mean, that I had what I needed. So wind up, um, went out to get high again and run to the cops. Cops ran into me. And had some warrants. I get incarcerated. Right? So I get locked up. Um, so in population, you know, I'm just sitting there thinking, before I call my mom, I said, Mom, I'm locked up. Can you come get me out? She told me no. She had never, ever told me no. You know what I mean? She's like, nope, nope, I'm not going to, I'm done. I'm not doing it, you know? And then you probably had something to do with that.
Yeah.
So don't
Talk prior to that. Leave him right there. You stay right there. Yep.
Right, yeah, so I get incarcerated. So they let me out. I'm gonna skip forward to the end of to how I got delivered. All right. I get incarcerated, and I come out of population. So when I come out of population, I come to sit on the step, like the TV was like up in the air, like, and so I'm sitting on the steps watching TV, and somebody come out and put a sign under the TV, Bible study and cell. I don't even remember what cell. I go to Bible study, and instantly I was delivered. Instantly I was delivered. That's that instantly thing I talked about. Instantly I was delivered. You know what I mean? Just like that. While I'm sitting on the step, all that stuff coming back to me. Grandmom taking me to church. All this, the hymns in the house all day. The Sunday dinner. All that start just going through my mind. While I'm sitting there. Train up a child in the way it should go. Once they get older, never depart his ways. You know what I mean? And so I go to that cell. Instantly, I'm delivered. I called Deneen. I didn't call her many times from jail, and I called her. Like Deneen, I said, I'm delivered. She said, yes, you are. She said, yes, you are. She knew it. She knew it. You know what I mean? She said, yes, you are.
white.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Praise the Lord for her. And that's what she was.
Yeah.
She was a praying wife. You know what I mean? Even when I shouldn't even deserved it, she still prayed for me, and still praying for me. So I ain't delivered from everything. I'm delivered from crack, but could be supposed to be I need to be delivered from. So now I'm in my cell. Now I'm like, like when you lock down, the first thing you want to do is get out. So now that I'm out, I just want to stay in my cell. You know what I mean? I'm reading, I'm studying, and the Lord gave me the scripture. 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant. For your adversary, the devil, is a roaring lion, walking about seeking who he may devour. I'm like, okay, all right, Lord, all right. So now it's time for me to go home. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. You know what I mean? I'm delivered. The Holy Spirit. Yes.
When were you locked up?
This time here it was like 12 days.
12. Okay.
10 days. 10
10
days.
days.
10 days. 10 days. And it's some scripture about being locked up for 10 days too. But I don't know exactly. I think it's over in Revelations. But so I get out, and we lived at Parkside. We lived on a corner property. It was a snowstorm. It was in January. Matter of fact, because I celebrated my birthday in jail. My birthday, January 6th. I might have got out maybe like the 10th or 11th, whatever time. So it was a snowstorm. So I'm shoveling the snow. And what do I find? A bag of crack cocaine. A bag of crack cocaine. Right? Now, what's funny is, when I was getting high, I could never find no crack cocaine. You know what I mean? I ain't never find nothing. Right? I'm shoving, I see it, I'm like, oh my God. 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant. For your adversary, the devil, is a roaring lion, walking about, seeking who he may devour. I took that, I shoved it down the sewer, you know what I mean, and kept on about my business, you know what I mean, and I had never ever got high again. I would never ever get high again. I'm delivered from crack cocaine. Yeah, yes,
Let me ask you this: before that moment happened, have you ever tried treatment at all? Like,
I
have you
did.
ever
I
tried?
did. I went to, I think, rehab. I went to rehab. First I went to a detox.
Mm-hmm. I
Um
went to Maryville.
and then I went to a rehab, and
Okay.
yeah, they just and in the first place I went because it wasn't because I wanted to go anyway. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It was like, man, I didn't raise so much hell. You know what I mean? It started so much trouble. Let me give them a break from me. You know what I mean? Let me give my family a break. You know what I mean? From me. You know what I mean? So I did wind up going to rehab. Came home, might have been clean a week. Might have been clean, maybe a week. I think that's the only one I went to though, right? It was
Very
just that one,
good.
right? Yeah, I went to that one, and yeah, that was the only one I ever went to.
So
Yeah, instantly.
was restored, and you never
It,
went back since
we
then.
never went back.
How long ago has that been? How long have you been?
19 years.
So you've been clean for 19 years.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 19 years.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
right. You said you don't count. You don't remember?
I'll be trying to do the math. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. Wait, it's more. It's 19 years
Yeah,
because Maj is
Mine's 19. Okay, my oldest granddaughter's 19. So when
Yeah.
I got delivered, we had her. Well, we ain't have her, but you know what I mean. We raised her. She was born, and she's 19 now.
You know, nothing is perfect. No relationship is perfect, but and I'm just sitting on this side and I'm just listening and watching, how y'all connect. It seemed like God really set this up
Yeah.
because, like I said, I know no relationship is perfect, but like He set it up. Seemed like for y'all to be at a time such as this.
Without a doubt. He had so many opportunities to leave me.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
so I gave her every opportunity in this world to
Every
leave me.
reason. He gave
Every
me every
reason.
reason.
I gave it to her. You
I'm
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gave her every reason to leave me. Her
wow.
family, like I said, her family didn't come to our wedding. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even because of her, it was because of me. You
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? You know? But she was just so faithful. She was so faithful to the
wow.
word of God.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Period. She was so faithful to the word of God.
Because all I had. He's all I had. I didn't have nobody else. Because nobody understood nothing that I was going through.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we had plenty of conversation. I remember one time Greg was downstairs getting high or acting crazy or whatever. I was upstairs in my bedroom, balled up in a corner in the dark, crying and praying. And I could just feel like the Lord hugging me. And I woke up like that. I woke up in the morning, balled up in that corner because I fell asleep.
yeah,
Like He was protecting me. Now my kids were never in danger with Him. Matter of fact, he was a good father to a certain extent. He would wash the clothes, he would cook, he would clean the house. He did all the functional things until it was time for him to get high. Once he wanted to get high, it was okay, y'all. I did all the stuff I had to do for y'all. Now it's my time to go do what I gotta do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
I remember. I remember. 2 and 3 days getting high in a building with no plumbing. You can just picture that. You know what I mean? That was me. That was a lifestyle for me. You know what I mean? I mean, going back to this building. You know what I mean? Another day, it wasn't like, wow, what I'm doing up in here, this is terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No running water, so you can imagine. You know what I mean? But it was a lifestyle for me because so I'll go right back to that same building. You know what I mean? And so yeah, yeah. It was terrible. It was terrible. And I mean that when I say that. It was terrible. You know what I mean? And I was an evil soul. You know what I mean? Because the things that I done to people, I mean, anytime you would do that to your own mother, you know what I mean? I was not right. But yeah, but God is good. Life is good. Life is good. And I I always say I give Deneen all of me. She deserved all of me. And they're not that's not something I just say. You know what I mean? I do my best to give her all of me. You know what I mean? Because yeah. But
What
nobody.
what are the relationships like with your family now, Deneen? With your family and with your husband, Greg? Like, has that bond been?
Oh
They love
yes.
me.
What
Yeah.
that's what I'm. Is there a bond?
Yeah.
They love me now.
Now let me say this. Let me say this part. Um, after Greg was delivered, we actually got remarried.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We got remarried. We renewed our vows. We had a nice wedding, and my dad, um, he would always say after he didn't come to the wedding, he regretted it for years because he said it wasn't about Greg. It should have been about you, and I was being selfish. And if you ever get married again, I want to walk you down the aisle. And he ended up walking me down the aisle. Him and Greg had a great
Yeah,
relationship. Like my family loves him. Sometimes they do a little bit too much. Like he's the in-law, I'm the person. No, but just just kidding. But they really, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they
yeah,
really love him.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I love them.
Look
I
how God
love.
restores.
Huh?
Look how God restores.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right?
Yep.
Only God could do this.
Only God can do that.
Only God could do this.
Yeah.
He already knew it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know it.
I
He
didn't
already
know it.
knew it, right? He knew the
He
outcome.
knew it. He knew it.
Right.
You know?
You know, I think of him real quickly to Sharon, my husband Ronnie, who passed away 12 years ago. He ended up dying of cancer.
Uh-huh.
And he died right here in our home on hospice. Prior to that, up and down addiction, sold drugs at one time,
Yeah.
young, we were both in our 20s, up and down addiction. He would clean. It seemed like sometimes he was like a binge user. Then he would go months with none.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was a moment when we had got married. I was new in the Lord. I didn't know nothing about the Bible.
Yeah.
I was a brand new Christian. And one day, Ronnie was on one of his binges. So I remember in my bedroom, was living in Camden. I said, Lord, I want a divorce. Can I get a divorce? Because I'm a brand new Christian, and I heard people, that's what I said. I want a divorce. Can I get a divorce?
Yeah.
Night, I always tell this story. I sat up straight, 1:00 in the morning in the bed. I had a Bible, basically a brand new Bible, sitting on my end table.
Yeah.
Grabbed the Bible. The Bible automatically opened up
Yes.
to Malachi.
Yes.
God hates divorce. I said, well, I guess I'm going to be living like I'm.
You can't debate that Bible. You can't debate that Bible.
I was so mad. I was like, yes, I'll be living single, being married. This is me. I was like, I did being so mad.
Yeah.
I was like, so mad. I was like, what you mean you hate divorce? I'm not supposed to live like this. And,
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
so
Right.
it was like we was in and out, in and out. So I didn't try. Actually, wait, nope. That's a lie. I did still try after that. Tried to get a divorce. Someone told me what the papers were. I filled all the right papers out.
Yeah.
To the courthouse. They said those were the papers. I paid the money. Don't you know my forms came back in the mail, said wrong papers. You had to start all over again.
Wow.
I said, okay, Lord.
See?
I'm not, I said, and I said it again. I guess I'm living single because I'm not going to be in this. Well, our relationship, up and down. And I have my own addiction and issues, so we both up and down, trying to heal, right?
Yeah.
Unhealed people. And then I realized after some time, he ended up going to jail. We ended up reconciling. He went to treatment. He went to treatment for 6 months. Gave his life to Christ. And we lived what I would say was what we always wanted. We both figured out how to heal. And the next thing you know, I realized why God, not I realized, but I ended up being the one who, I ain't saying took care of him, but I did. But we also reconciled.
Yes.
And I took care of him as his nurse when he got cancer. It was like God knew what was headed in the
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
He reconciled us, and he ended up dying from cancer. But he was like my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? What was in store, and that I would be the one to take care of him.
Yes.
On him.
Yes.
I went home to be with the Lord. Right?
Yeah.
Knew not that we wanted that outcome to be it, but that was just what was.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say God knows the future.
Yes, he does.
Other people might not understand why y'all were together, right? Why she stayed, not you, but why she stayed.
Yeah.
I don't understand, but God knows what he
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because if she wasn't obedient to what God was speaking to her, you know what I mean? For one thing, we wouldn't be here today. And I'm sure enough I wouldn't be here today. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have had that someone covering me through prayer. You know what I mean? So is that, and so it's even when God is speaking, it's so important to listen to him. And you know that for yourself. The time when you try to do it on your own, try to do what you thought, you know what I mean? And what did God do? Say, no, this ain't gonna happen. You was obedient to that. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, God, if this is what it got to be, this is what it's going to be.
Now,
Now you got to get me through this.
let me clarify something.
What? Oh, boy.
Even though I was with him, but I also gave him the business about, it wasn't all smooth. Okay, go ahead and do your whatever. No, yeah, he was in trouble a lot of times with me,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I stood up for myself
Oh, yeah.
to as far as I could, you know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually, women like that who are strong, we usually still use our voice. You know,
Yes.
I might still be here, but you going like you said, you gave him the business. You still
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
here.
Right.
Right, what is happening, even though I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
I always tell man, she's the strongest woman I know. I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if I could have done it. I don't know. I mean, living, knowing what I have done, and for her to stay here with me, you know what I mean? 1 minute.
But Deneen, I thank you so much though for
Okay.
Yeah.
just being here and being that representation,
Mhm.
of Christ in his life. It's such a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm grateful that God sustained me. He never gave me the desire to even get high with him like most people do. Like
Yeah,
when they're together, they're getting high together.
yeah, a lot of people
Never
do.
had a desire.
Yeah.
He never gave me a desire. Greg never pushed it on me, and I'm grateful for that,
Yeah.
because I could have been a weaker vessel,
Yep,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
yep.
I ain't pushing on you because I ain't want to share.
Yeah, and thank God you did.
I ain't sharing. I ain't
And
sharing.
thank God you did. Thank you for being selfish.
That's right. We ain't sharing this.
That $5 wouldn't have went far with two of
I
them.
know, right? I know, right? Maybe I'll take another walk. Somebody.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah. But if one thing, something I would like to say is that, I don't know who going to see this, but man, your friends ain't your friends.
you. Yeah,
You know, I tell I told my children, I tell my grandchildren, pick your friends like you pick your fruit. It's something Erica Badu used to say on one of her songs. But I always tell them, pick your friends like you pick your fruit. Because Deneen told me so many times, these are not your friends, and I just would not listen. I would not listen. You know what I mean? But yeah, be careful who you calling friends. I had payday friends. Because like I said, I always had some kind of little job. I would come home, people on my step, waiting for me to come home. You know what I mean? Knowing that, oh, if I got money, we won't get high. You see, these are the kind of people that cling to me. And
yeah,
then once that money was gone, once the party was over,
They was gone.
they was gone.
yeah.
They was gone. You know what I mean? So that's and God's a deliverer. God is. It took 19 years. You know what I mean? But today, it was all worth it. And you know what? I wouldn't change anything in the world. Someone asked me that. Nope. Because I wouldn't be the good man I am today.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I wouldn't be the man. I mean, not bragging, but I'm a good provider. I'm a good husband. I'm a good grandfather. I'm a good father. You know what I mean? And all that because I love the Lord. You know what I mean? And God He always make a way for me. He always, you know what I mean? He always make a way for me. And I just love my family, and I do all I can for my family, friends, church family, my cousin, you know what I mean, looking at me through the screen, you know what I mean, talking about you. That's right. I just,
When you said it, I said, "Oh wait,
he talking about me. He must be talking about me. And I'm telling you, we are just enjoying life. And we've been enjoying life for a long time. And you know why? Because it don't take much for us.
Yeah.
It don't take much for us to enjoy life.
Mhm.
People say that life is short. It is. It is. Even if you live a long time, life still can be short if you don't enjoy it. And we just enjoy life. Sometimes we can just sit here in our recliner chairs for 3 days, and life is good. And life is good. And that's something that's very important to us is being together. You know, we do every. It was funny. I was sick, and I was home for like 6 months. And once I got well, we would go like on a date night, like on a day trip. So we would ride to Sam's. You know, they got the best gas, right? But we would do it together, you know. And it was like every 4 days we're going to Sam's. To get,
It's funny. It's funny.
we're going to Sam's. You know what I mean? For us to be together, you know, we always together.
Yeah.
We all people like
That's true.
we always together.
You
People
got-
like, yeah, this sort of look
Where's
alike.
Deneen? Where's
Yeah.
Greg?
You know, we always and that is something that, you know, God has given us, you know. Spend your time together, you know, and that's what we do. We always together. We always together.
That's what you mentioned about friends.
Yes.
One of the things I know that sometimes people struggle with. I know that so I haven't had a drink in 32 years. That was alcohol was my thing. And I've been sober for 30 years. But I remember when that happened, one of the things that I struggled with was loneliness. Because my friends,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My friends drank and they got high. When I say get high, they smoked marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
But they drank. And I smoked weed too, but my big thing was alcohol.
Yes.
And so when I decided to get sober, I felt no one was around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I didn't have the friends. I didn't have at that time. Like I wasn't able to. So I know a lot of people struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I know that you had your wife, but was there ever a sense of that though, like loneliness? And if not, though, what could you say to someone around that? Like, did you
You know what?
sense though?
I never experienced that. I never experienced that loneliness even once I had got delivered, you know, because I guess it was just so many. I was having like so many children, you know what I mean? Even though they wasn't old, but someone was always around anyway, you know what I mean? Besides friends. So someone was always around. And so once I got delivered, you know what I mean? I don't remember what day it was, but I had went back to my church home. You know, went back to Mount Calvary. You know what I mean? You know, so seeing them. And I remember that Sunday we were gonna have dinner, and family members came over because they couldn't believe that I was delivered. Yeah. You know what I mean? They like, you know, and that's what they told it. Man, ain't no way in the world, not you. You know what I mean? So they had came over just to see, you know, and I don't think they want. I don't want to say they didn't want to see me be delivered. They just couldn't believe that it could happen to me. You know what I mean? I was just so far out there. But I never experienced loneliness because, and I guess because even through all that, I was always able to come home. You know what I mean? Even staying out for 2 and 3 days. I mean, it wasn't cool. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, life of luxury when I came home. You know what I mean? But I was always able to come home, you know, and it was always so many people that I got high with that had got delivered before me, family members. You know what I mean? So they had, you know what I mean? So I was never alone. So I can't.
What you say to somebody that's feeling that? That's what you want to know.
It's good people out there. It's good people out there. You know what I mean? If you deliver and you in a lonely state, you have to cling to someone. You have to cling to people that's out there that mean you good, because they're out there. You know what I mean? You just have to search. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, you have to search. You have to go out. You know, you're not going to find them in the bar. Okay. You're not going to find them in the club. Okay. So you know not to go there. You know, so God is giving you wisdom. You know, God is giving you wisdom. Now you have to follow that wisdom that God has given you.
I know that sometimes for some people going to AA or NA meetings can sometimes help them just to be around like-minded people. You know, to help with that loneliness. But it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and even struggle with it so bad they find themselves going back. So like they just want community. The hard part is they find a negative community instead of
right. Find it positive because it's out there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We didn't know in our addiction because we
Correct.
wasn't searching for the good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Once you know you clean, you know, drug free, alcohol free, what it is, you know, it's people out there for you. It's people there. You know, it's family there. You know, you know, you probably burned a lot of bridges. I'm just speaking in general. People, I know I did. You know what I mean? But there's still some people out there that loves you. You know, and they don't, and you have to cling to them. You know what I mean? You had to ask for forgiveness, even for the family members. You
Yeah.
know, I had a lot of, from the first person I called my mom and told her I was so sorry for what I took her through. You know what I mean? I called her, what was it, making a mean, what we called it?
Amends.
Making amends. You know what I mean? Yeah, making amends. And I did. I had ran into a family, to a husband and wife that I took some money from up in when Acme in Mount Ephraim Avenue. And they didn't remember me. And I seen them. You know what I mean? I said, y'all remember me? They're like, nah, we don't know you. And I explained to them, I said, you know what? You know, I explained to them, and I went into the Mac machine, and I gave them some money, and it was just something that I needed to do. You know, cause like I said, they didn't remember me, huh?
You do have to, like when you have to explain yourself.
I had to explain to me, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they was kind of angry, you know what I mean? They was kind of angry, and I just apologized, like, I'm sorry, you know, that wasn't me. I'm not, you know, and they was like looking at me like, and to tell you the truth, I don't really think they accepted my apology. You know what I mean? You know, I gave them the money, you know, and I'm sure, you know, they ain't gonna turn that down. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. You know what I mean? So I really don't think they accepted. But everything I done, I was doing it for me.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was doing
Yeah.
all these things that I was doing it for me. You know, and you know, and I'm like a giver. I'm not even talking finance. God had made me a giver. I guess because I took so much from people, I am a giver. You know, that's my spirit. Giving of my time. You know, if I got a couple extra dollars, whatever, but it's not always about money. But I am a giver. You know, I mean, people can knock on my door and ask to take them somewhere. Let's go. You know what I mean? And you know, so that's what God has given me. You know, a spirit of giving. I'm a spirit of giving my time, you know, and just enjoying. Life is good. I keep saying it, but life is good on this side of the bridge. And life is so good on this side of the bridge, you know what I mean? And think back to that loneliness, you know. We don't even the loneliness, don't think you have to do so much to get people on your side. You know, because it's going to take time. 'Cause you done hurt so many people.
Yeah.
You know, you done hurt so many people. So don't think people are just going to cling to you because you delivered. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
you didn't stop getting high. So now everybody going to be knocking on your door and loving you and you know what I mean and showing you love. So don't
And
think
you
that's going to
gotta
happen.
you
You know?
you gotta be your first friend.
Yeah, yeah,
You gotta be your own friend. You gotta learn to love yourself again
yes. Well said.
and take
Yes,
care of yourself
yeah,
again before you can even befriend somebody else. You have to learn how to love
yeah,
yourself and be your own friend.
yeah,
Then people don't realize, people have to earn back your trust.
yeah,
You
Hmm.
earn
yeah,
it back or just earn it, period.
yeah.
You ever have it, right? So it takes time.
It takes time.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, and that was me. You know, just reaching out to people that I hurt. That was my healing. It really was. I hurted so many people. You know what I mean? Family members. Like I said, wasn't nobody off limits. You know what I mean? And that was part of my healing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Because you
Just
abuse yourself for years and you don't realize you're not just abusing people, you're abusing yourself.
yeah, yeah,
You're abusing yourself and it takes a lot to heal your
yeah,
inner being.
yeah.
Like and to say I am important. I love myself and I mean something to me. So I have to do things for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to love yourself before you can even love somebody else.
Yeah,
Properly anyway.
yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I would let me so every time I go see my mother, and she don't even know this. Every time I visit my mother once a month. You know what I mean? She live right, not too far. But I told her I would always come see her at least once a month. And every time before I go see my mother, I cut my hair. You know, because I don't want her to see me how I was when I was out in the street. You know, and that means so much. And I don't know if she even know this, but that means so much to for her not to see that old me, even though she know I don't get high and nothing like that. but that little thing means so much to me that I would never allow her to see me looking like that again. And she probably don't even know. She probably don't even know. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was something that small was important is important to me. You know, oh man, it's just these little victories. These little victories that you celebrate. That I think they're the main ones, the little ones. You know that you celebrate. You know what I mean that you overcome. You know, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what would you leave people with? Anything like the both of you, what is there anything on your heart that you want to leave people with?
You know, usually when I speak, that's like the last thing people ask me, or one of the last thing people ask me, and I joke, but I mean it. Everybody need to find a Deneen. You know what I mean? Everybody need a Deneen. You know what I mean? And I know it's not that easy, but man, I'm gonna tell you, man, everybody need a Deneen. You know what I mean? And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And it's surprising that I didn't cry yet. 'Cause I'm a crier. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm a crier,
yeah.
but I
I
am
got addictions
so
right
but I am
here.
so serious, and but you know what? Seek the Lord while he may be found. Seek the
Mhm.
Lord while he may be found. Cry out to him. God is able. God is able. I mean, look, every time I look in the mirror, I see a miracle.
Yeah.
Every time I look in the mirror, I see a miracle. You know what I mean? And people, yeah, no, some people are like, well, it ain't that easy for me. Listen, get back up. Okay? Get back up. You fall down, you get back up. Because there's going to be a time that you're not going to fall down. You're going to stumble. You're not going to fall down. You might stumble. You know what I mean? And God's going to be there to catch you before you fall down. And I truly believe that in the bottom of my heart. I truly believe that God is able. Instantly I was a crack addict. Instantly I was delivered. If God could do it for me, why can't He do it for you? Yes, this is good. Praise God.
Awesome.
Praise God.
All right.